Make it so that it's, let me see. Go a little bit higher.
Going higher?
Yeah. See, I normally have a big light.
Mm-hmm.
The lighting here is freaking terrible.
And that light's dim.
Yeah, the lighting here is terrible. I'm wondering if I should go here. Let's move this way. Okay, guys, welcome to the video about film cameras. Just a quick reminder, number one, you need to make sure that when you get your camera, the first photo I want you to take is a picture of your name, okay? So that I know that whatever roll of film that I'm looking at, there's a picture of your name, and that's how you're going to name it, and that's how we're going to know that these are your photos. Does that make sense? So your cameras probably have a post-it on it, right? I'm not going to say whose this is, but you can probably read it. Anyways, if you just want to take a picture of this every time or whatever, but you've got to give me a photo with your name, okay? You just write it on a piece of paper, take a photo, there you go, okay? And that way I know the rest of that whole roll of film is going to be yours, and then you know you'll get it back. Okay, number two, if you use on your second or third roll of film, if you decide to do that, you want to make sure that, again, after you load the film, take a picture with your name. Okay? This is what the roll of film looks like when it's complete out of the camera. Okay? The video will show you how to load film, how to take film out, and then obviously it gives you a specific for your specific camera. The video is alphabetical by last name. So Josh and the twins, you guys are at the front. Gabby Y, you're at the end. Okay, and everybody else is in the middle. So this roll of film, once you take it out of the camera, you're going to bring it back to school and you're going to drop it into the box that says Mizzy Film. Every Thursday I take that box and I bring it to the photo store and I get it developed. You'll have your photos back in about a week. Okay? If you want more film, take another roll of film. When you drop off this roll, grab another roll of film out of the other box that says Mizzy's rolls of film or whatever it's going to say. Alright, if there are any questions, email me. Again, have a great time, take a ton of photos, check the light meter, and let's see what you come up with. Have fun. Hey guys, now we're going to talk about what happens at the end when you know that you're at the end of the roll of film. Okay, so all of you should be watching this video. The next video after this is actually how to load film in the event that you want to shoot a second roll, which I hope you do. Okay, so I'm right now at number 22 on this roll of film of 24. Okay, so I'm going to take a picture, boom, take a picture, boom, and now it won't let me advance the film anymore. So I know I'm at the roll, and if I look at the counter, I'm at number 24. Okay, and this is, every roll of film is 24 shots, or about. Okay, so what do? Simple. Number one, turn the camera upside down, and I'm going to find that release button, right? Okay, the release button is right here. So, boom, push the release button. Number two, I'm going to open the crank, the little crank handle right here. Okay, and I'm going to crank my film, and I'm going to rewind it back into the canister. So, I'm going to, and there's a little arrow there. I go that direction, and you'll hear the film going in. You also hear Mr. Cosgrove coughing in the hallway. Okay, and I feel tension, and now it released. Now it's easy to go. And you'll notice it kind of spins back a little bit. That's perfect. Okay, simple. Now all I do is open it up. Boom. All of the film is inside of the canister. Right? When we started, it was sticking out a little bit. Okay, lift this up, take it out. Boom, and if I want to put in a new roll, I put in a new roll, and that video is next. That little section is next. But there you go. So, what do we do next? We what do? Drop it to school. I'll have to cut that part out. What do we do next? Come to school, drop this off, and put it in the Mizzy film box. If you want another roll of film, take another roll of film and load it. okay, and shoot it. And when you're done with it, put it in the Mizzy film box. Okay. Every Thursday, I take what's in the film box and I drop it off at the place to get it developed, and we will have it in there. Make sure that you always, and I'll tell you this in the class, okay? Make sure that you take a picture of your name, like take a Post-it, like this, okay? Take a picture of a Post-it with your name, so that on the film itself, one of the photos is a picture of your name, because then I'll know who to send the roll of film to, okay, or the digital scans. Okay, you'll get an email that says, hey, here are your photos, and then in your photos will be, in the folder will be all of your digital photos of what you took. Okay, does that make sense? All right, any questions? Let me know, I'll talk to you soon. Okay, you guys, so I'm going to show you how to load film in your camera in the event that you want to shoot more than one roll. Okay, so this is pretty much the same for all the cameras. You know how to individually open your camera. I showed you that on the little section just for you. Okay, but this is loading film, pretty much the same for everybody. Okay, so number one, open your camera. So on this one, I'm going to pull this little thing right here, and the camera itself is going to open. Yes? And this is the back of the camera. Okay, so now, where does the roll of film go? The roll of film goes on this side, underneath the crank. Okay? The film will lay across this. When a photo is taken, this window opens up. Okay? You will see it. Hold on. You will see it open. Maybe. Oh, I guess not. Okay, there you go. Watch again. So that window opens up, and that's how the photo is taken, right? Okay. So what we're trying to do is we're going to make sure that we put the film in correctly. Okay, it's going the film spool, if it's going to go across the camera, the film spool, if it's going to go across the camera, will go all the way across, and it's going to feed into the far spool here. Okay, there's only one spool that it can go into, and there's a slot right there. Okay, so what you're going to do is this: put the film roll in. Okay, pull the film out a little bit, and you're going to put the tail inside of the slot. You're going to put the tail inside of the slot right here. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this all with one hand. I'm sure it'll work. Okay. Just like that. Okay. So now, hopefully you can see this. It is in the, maybe, hold on, let me see. My camera operator can get that. So there it is, it's in that little slot right there. Okay? So what you're going to do is this. Really simple. Okay? I'm going to turn the crank, and it's going to take the film. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to crank it one more time, and I'm going to make sure that it's in these grooves that are right here, these little gear grooves. But at this point, I know it's good, it's locked in. Okay, but I'll do one more just to make sure, and you can see how it's feeding it. Take a picture. Close your camera. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the counter, and wherever the counter is, and I'm going to take a picture until it gets to number 1. And usually it's about 3 of them. Now it's at number 1. Okay, I can see the number 1 right here. I should be good to go at this point. Okay, I should be good to go, and now go ahead and take your pictures. Alright, until you get to the end of the roll. Pause. Alright, Josh, this is your camera. Okay, the Nikkormat EL. This thing is sweet. To turn it on, okay, to turn it on, all you do is flip the switch. When you see the red dial, the red dot, it's on. Okay? Simple. Alright. The shutter speed is right here. Okay? The white dot lines up with the shutter speed. Okay? The aperture is this black dot and this dial right here. Okay? So I know it's a little bit tough to see because the focus is like, what do I want to focus on? Okay, so you want to make sure, there you go, you want to make sure that you're shooting you know, probably at f2. If you're taking pictures of people, you're going to want to shoot at f2, okay? Which is right there, f2. So you see that little 2 right there? That's what you want, okay? f2. All right, so that's pretty much it. Okay, you'll notice that if I close this down, okay, so that's f2 wide open, okay, f2.8, 4, 5, 6, all the way down to whatever this goes to, f16. Okay, little tiny hole. All right, so that's what you're concentrating on. Okay, how much light are you going to let in, and basically what shutter speed are you going to shoot at? All right, cool. All right, and then make sure you turn it off. So you got to make sure that it's here and that you turn it off. Okay, when you're done. All right, cool. Okay, Josh, this is your camera. This is the Nikon EL. So the demo I did obviously was of your camera that's ready to go. The light meter on this camera. Okay, the light meter is the scale that you see on the left-hand side. Okay, and so basically what you're going to do is, the way it is set up, the shutter speed is the dial on the top, which I showed you. The black arrow, the black line right there, that black line, that line is where the camera wants to shoot. Now for you, if you want, you can put this camera in auto, and then the green line will disappear. Okay, but depending on if you're not shooting in auto and you're shooting this thing manually, when you close the aperture, right now I'm putting the aperture at f2, it's wide open. You'll notice that the black line is at like 2/50th, between 1/25 and 2/50th. If I close the aperture and let less light into the screen, then you'll notice that the shutter speed needs to then be longer. Okay. If I slow the shutter speed down, okay, so right now I'm changing the shutter speed, which is the green thing, the green line. Okay, 1/60th, 1/25th, 250, 500, 1000. Okay, if I shoot at 500th of a second, which is above the black line, the black meter, then the picture's going to be dark. If I shoot too slow, the picture's going to be too light. So you want to be right around here. Okay, you could be this slow and it might be okay, but you want to be right around here or here. Okay, so when you are taking photos and you're looking at the camera and the light meter, if you're not in auto, then you're going to want to make sure that the green and black lines are close to each other. You can control it by the aperture, which is on the lens, the f-stop number, or you can control it by the shutter speed, the dial on the top. Okay? Cool. Okay, KK Twins. You have the Nicker mat, okay? One is silver, one is black. All right, so obviously you each have your own cameras. Okay, to control the aperture, all right, to control the aperture, you're going to go, this is the aperture ring right here at the top of the camera, okay, and you're going to simply go from 1.8 all the way to f22. There's a black dot right here, okay, you can see that black dot right there on the top of the lens, above the f22, okay. So you're going to basically make sure that this is how you're going to control the aperture, and I'll show you the inside of the lens in a minute. Okay, the shutter speed is controlled by this lever down here. Okay, this lever down here. All right, so you're basically going to control the shutter speed like that. Okay, how do you know how fast you're shooting? On this side of the camera is the numbers, and you can see there it is. And if you look at that black dot right there, right now it's on the 1,000th of a second, okay, and then it goes, you know, down to, you know, lower, lower, lower. You don't want to shoot any slower than 1/60th of a second, maybe 1/30th if you haven't drank any coffee. All right, so simple. Both of you turn the camera on by opening the lever like that, and you see the red dot right there. That's how you open this thing, okay? That's how you power it on, rather, all right? Take a picture, you push this button right here. Boom. Like that. Push the button, and there you go, okay? So again, you're going to go here, and this button right here takes a picture. Okay? The film release, well, it's underneath this plate. There's a little film release button. Okay? This is the rewind crank. You rewind, do. Okay, and then simply pull this up when you're done, and it will release the, oh, sorry, pull this up, this version, you pull this down, this little lever right here, this little thing right here, pull it down, boom, and then this will open up. Okay, and there you go. Just close it when you need to, boom, put this down, and you're good. Okay, simple as that. And I will show you the inside. This is actually a sweet little camera. I actually have one of these. I love this thing. I will show you the inside in just a second. Bye. Okay, so when you look through your camera, this is the middle of the camera. You see that little circle thing right there, right? Okay, and you're focusing. On the right hand side, you will see the light meter. Okay, when you adjust the shutter speed, okay, when you adjust the shutter speed, hold on, okay, that will get that meter to jump into the middle, and you need that meter to be in there. You can also adjust, you hear those clicks, okay, I'm adjusting the aperture of the lens. Okay, this camera does not have like an auto mode, so you want to make sure that every time you take a photo, it's in between the plus and the minus. Okay, if it's a little bit too dark, it's going to be there, or worse, up there. If it's too bright, it's going to be down there. Okay, and you'll notice, like right now, it's perfectly exposed for taking a photo because it's looking at the whiteboard. If I put my hand in front of the lens, watch what happens to the meter. It drops down because it's darker. See that? It's a darker scene, so the camera's like, oh, we need to make an adjustment with shutter speed or with aperture. Oh, now we're good. Oh, now we're not. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so whenever you take a photo, try to keep the light meter lever or needle in between the plus and the minus. Okay, and you do that by either controlling the f-stop, which is the opening of the lens. So right now it's underexposed, and because I have it at f22, which is a very small hole. If I let more light in, f8, it gets closer, f4 closer, f1.8, f2.8 seems like that's kind of the sweet spot right now for the shutter speed that is set right now at 1/25 of a second. Okay, and if I increase the shutter speed, the shutter's not open enough, it's giving it a dark image. If I open the shutter for too long, that's at 1/30 of a second, then it's going to be too bright. Okay, so you want to make sure that when you're taking your photos, and this is for both of you, that that light meter is in that box, somewhere in that box, and it should be really good. All right? Okay, Irene, this is you. You got the very modern Vivitar. I think this is what, yeah, the V4000S. Sweet little camera. Okay, to turn it on, you just make sure that the lever is like that. Off, on. That's all it is. Okay, crank the film, push the black button, take a picture. This is your shutter speed right here. Okay, and this is your aperture. Hold on, looking at this backwards. Your aperture is right here, okay? This dial right here, this is your focus. Okay, I'm sorry, this is your focus. And this is your zoom. This one zooms, which is nice. Zoom, focus. When you're looking through the camera and you're trying to focus, it'll be obvious, okay? So just remember the biggest one. And it also has feet measurements on there for you. So, wind the film, take a picture. Okay, simple. When you need to release the film, that's that button right there. Okay, so you'll basically crank, do. Okay, and then you will pull this up, and pop it open. That's it. All I'm doing is pulling on this up a little bit. Okay, should be good. Should be a piece of cake. I will show you the inside of this in just a second. Okay, are you ready? So here's what happens. When you look through the camera and you push the shutter button halfway down, you're going to see a little meter on your right hand side of your viewfinder. When you look inside, you're going to see a plus and you're going to see a minus. Okay, so what will happen is, let me adjust this a little bit if I can. I can't even adjust this thing. See if I can get this better for you. Okay, so that plus and minus right there, okay, if you see the green dot, you're pretty good. If you want it to be perfect, then you have to adjust, and there you go. Okay, so that's good, that's perfect, and that's getting a little bit too dark, that's too dark. Okay, so if you see the green dot, you're good. That's a little bit overexposed, that's good. That's a little bit underexposed, and that's underexposed. Okay, so you want that green dot. If you see the green dot, then you know your settings are correct. Okay, now this camera, you can adjust the shutter speed. So if I close the shutter down, it'll go underexposed. If I open if I close the aperture down, I meant to say, it will go dark. If I open the aperture more, it'll be overexposed. Okay, the same thing goes with the shutter speed. If I increase the shutter speed, it'll go dark. If I get it correct, it'll be there, and then if I go slower, it will overexpose by a lot, by way a lot. Okay, so you want to be able to find that happy medium of, if you have the green dot, like I said, the green light when you shoot, then you know that you're good to go. Okay, have fun, and we'll see what you come up with. Okay, Monique, this is yours. This is the Nikon what is this? The FM2. Okay, Monique, this is your camera. Okay, the shutter, to turn the camera on, you just go like that, and it's on. Okay, if you keep it on like this, the battery will die, so don't do that. Okay, the shutter speed is right here. Okay, simple. So looking at it in your view, okay, you will have, you're going off this little white tick that's right there, okay? And you can tell that when you practice firing, this camera will have will have film in it when you get it, so don't do this, but when you hear it, it'll shoot fast. This is 1/2000th of a second. If you shoot at 1/4 of a second, which is 1/4, you can hear the difference, okay? So you're going to want to shoot at 1/60th or faster. Okay, simple. And then when you're adjusting the aperture, okay, that's right here, this black dot right there, that's that black dot. Okay, and that's this ring right here. Okay, you got a nice cute little pancake lens, 50mm 1.8. This is a great portrait lens. Well, it's actually one of my favorite lenses, but whatever. So f1.8 all the way to f22. Okay, so that's how you'll adjust what it's doing. So you'll know what it's doing by, this is, what is that, f4, that's f1.8, and as you get closer to f22, that's f22, there's barely any light coming in. See that little diaphragm? So as we open up the lens, that's how it works. Okay? When you need to take a picture, obviously you're going to push this silver button right here, right there, boom. Okay, rewind the film, that's right here at the top. Okay, this little crank right here, and then the arrows, and then the release is this little thing right, hold on, focus, there's this button right here. Okay, so when you're ready to release the film, it's this button right here. Alright, and that's it. I will show you the inside of this thing right now. Okay, so when you are looking in your camera on the right hand side, you will see the light meter. Okay, when you push this shutter button halfway down, if it's too dark, it'll look like that. If it's too overexposed, too light, too bright, it'll be plus. If it's good enough, you'll see that circle right there. That's a little bit too dark, that's a little bit too bright, but it's still properly exposed. Okay, you can control the exposure by both the aperture, which is on the lens, or you can do it with the shutter speed, which is on the top, controlling how fast the shutter is. Okay, so either one you want. All right, and then you focus by focusing the lens itself. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. All right, Ruby, this camera is yours, the Vivitar. This thing is sweet, super fun and super easy to use. Okay, number one, to turn the camera on, you're going to just go like that. That's it, on, off, on, okay? To adjust the shutter speed, you're just gonna turn this dial right here. Okay, so when you're adjusting the shutter speed, that's all you need to do, okay? So right now you're going off this little white tick right here, okay? Right now it's at 125. If you don't need to crank because it's ready to shoot, push the button down and it takes a picture. Okay, you should notice a difference between 1/2000th of a second and one, let's say 30th. It's much slower, okay? To adjust the aperture, okay, you're going to turn this dial right here, okay? You can see those little numbers right there, okay? Hopefully you can see that f2, okay, all the way to f16. All right, now what will happen is with this camera, you will, when you crank and you get ready, you'll look in here and I will show you what the light meter looks like. It's pretty simple. But when you're done shooting, this is the crank that you will turn. Okay, you'll turn this crank, do 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 do, and then that's the release button. You see that? That's the release button right there. Okay, you just push that button in and crank, do 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 do, and you're done. Okay. To open it up, you're going to just pull this thing open. You just pull this up and it'll open up. Okay, click, lock, that's it. Boom, open. Super duper easy, super fun. Okay, and then focusing obviously is right here. Okay, I'm going to show you what the inside of this thing looks like next. Okay, Rubes, when you look on the inside of your camera, you will see a meter on the right hand side. Okay, and that meter will tell you if things are good or if they're not good. So right now if you see the green light, then you're good. Okay, that's overexposed, proper exposed, underexposed. Okay, so just make sure when you're shooting, okay, that you are looking and trying to get it by that green light right there. If you get the green light, you're good to go. Okay, if I put my hand in front, what will happen is sometimes the light meter will get messed up. But otherwise, if you adjust the lens like I'm doing, I'm taking it under or over and it's like, okay, I like this. Okay, so the green light means that your exposure settings are correct. Okay, if it's too dark, it'll be off. If it's too light, it'll be off. And you can make those adjustments again by the shutter speed or by the aperture ring on the lens. Okay? Okay, Edison, you have the Minolta XD11. This is the classic, old school, fantastic camera. Classic. Okay, simple. Number one, to turn it on, you just go like that and it's on. Okay, turn it off, it goes like that. Okay, now this camera is fun because you control, it shoots in a couple of different modes. The first mode being aperture priority, meaning you only have to worry about controlling the aperture, okay, which is the opening of the lens, okay, how much light you're letting in, okay, or you can put it, and I'm adjusting it here, which I'll show you, okay, so right here, right there, it's in A mode, okay. If I put it on S mode, then you are controlling the shutter speed, okay. If you want to be super pro and you want to control both, then you put it in M mode for manual. Okay, I slide that thing right there to M and there you go. But otherwise, it's easiest just to keep it in A mode, and all you do is you control you control the aperture right here. Okay? Now, here's the deal. Turn it on, there you go. To advance the wind, to wind the film, you do that. Push a button, push that button right there to take a picture. Okay? Pretty basic, pretty simple, a lot of fun to use. All right, I'm going to show you the inside of the camera so that you understand what the light meter is doing in there, and it'll tell you how fast it's going to shoot. Last thing is, this is the release button for the film when you want to take care of the film, okay, and take it out. You push that button right there, boom, and then you open this crank. You open up this crank right here. Just open it up, okay. Turn it, pull it up, and then give it a little bit of a pop, boom, and this will open up for you, and you're good. Okay, close it. So again, all you do is lift this up and give it a little bit more of a lift, and this thing will just pop open. Okay, so basic, fun, have fun, and then you focus right here. This is all manual focus. All right, and when you look in there, if it's blurry, then obviously it's going to be blurry. I'll show you the inside in a second. Okay, when you're looking in your camera on the right hand side, you see those numbers 30, 60, 125, 250. When you push the button halfway down, it will tell you the shutter speed of what you're shooting. Okay, so right now it's pretty dark in here, so it's going to shoot at a slower shutter speed than if we were outside in the sun. Okay, you want to try to keep that red dot at 60 or above. 60, 125, 250, that's what you want. Okay, at 1/30th of a second, that's a little bit slow and it may not be real sharp. Now, if I adjust the shutter speed, the aperture rather, because I'm in aperture mode, then you'll notice that it's going lower, right? So the less light I let into the lens, the slower the shutter speed is going to go. Okay, does that make sense? All right, now if we had more light in here, then it would be brighter. Let me actually see if I can turn so we turn up the lights. Okay, so I turned the lights off, higher, right? And now you can see it's going to shoot a little bit faster because I turned up the lights a little bit. Okay, now if I put my hand in front, you'll see that it's adjusting itself, okay, because it thinks it's brighter. Okay, but that's kind of how it works. Okay, so it's automatically figuring out the shutter speed that you're going to need depending on the aperture, the amount of light you're letting in through the lens. Okay, so if it's at 60, that's best, or above is best. Okay, 60 or faster. Okay, a higher number for shutter speed is best. Okay, if I put it on shutter speed, then it's going to tell me the f-stop. Okay, all right. Good luck. I will talk to you soon. Okay, Jesus, this is yours. The Albanar, really nice camera, MS2. Anyways, so real simple. To turn it on, you just keep the lever like that. Okay, off, on. All right. To take a picture, you make sure you wind the film, and then push the button right there, and that'll take the picture. Wind the film, take a picture. All right. To control the shutter speed, you just turn this dial. You just turn this dial right here. Okay. And what you're doing is you're going off of that little white tick right there. That little white tick right there. Okay. So right now it's at 60. Okay. 125, 250, 500, 1000. Okay. When you need to adjust the aperture, that's this ring right here. 1.9, 2.8, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 16. Okay? So that's how that works. All right? So besides that, you are going to want to make sure that we cock it, take a picture, okay, and that we're good. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to, so the light meter is right here, okay, that little red light. So when I push this halfway down, that's going to tell me if if it's correct. Okay, if the light turns green, like that,
then you know that you have good exposure. What I did was I'm adjusting the aperture right here. I adjusted the aperture. So if I close it down, the light's red. If I open it back up, the light will be green. Okay? So I can also control the shutter speed. So right now it's in proper exposure. If I make it go faster, then it's going to be too dark. If I slow it down, it'll be just right. If I slow it down more though, then it will be too bright. Okay, so that's how it works. Whenever you shoot and you put your eye in here, you're going to see this little green light or a red light by pushing this button halfway down. Okay, and that will tell me what's going on. Okay, take your picture. Boom. Wind the camera. Boom. Okay, but again, you're looking for that red light, that green light rather. All right, piece of cake. Oh, and then the release is right here. Okay, and then to open this thing up, you basically, hold on, focus. You pull this up, pull it up a little bit, and it will open up for you. Close it, and there you go. All right, so and then close it down, and you're good. Boom, boom, and this opens up. All right, and you'll wind the film, like that. All right, have fun. Okay, so Jesus, this is your Albanon, so again, it's at a little bit of an angle, but you'll get it. So you see the green light that is right there. Okay, that green light tells you that what the lens or the camera is seeing is in perfect exposure. Okay, if your shutter or settings are off, it'll be dark. Okay, if it goes below, then that means it's too dark. If it goes above, then it's too bright. Okay, so you're going off of that green light. Okay, again, if the light is above it, it's too bright. If it's below it, it's too dark. Okay, the same thing with the aperture. If I adjust the aperture and I close the aperture down, the light meter is telling you that it's a little bit too dark. Okay, now you can be one click off, and that's no big deal. You'll still get good photos. But if you're way off like that, like 3 or 4 clicks, then you're gonna have photos that won't look right. Okay, to activate it, you just push the shutter button right down, halfway down. Okay, it'll go off after a few seconds. All right, so take a picture, wind the film, right? Focus with the front of the lens, and take a picture. Okay, so this will be in your eye all the time. You're always looking for it to be green. Okay, green is good, red is not so good. All right, basically that's it. Piece of cake. Have fun. Okay, Bree, this is your camera. You got the Minolta X370. Fun little camera, super easy to use. Okay, this is an auto camera, so the only thing that you need to worry about is the aperture, which is right here. Okay, otherwise the camera will figure everything out for you. You can take it out of auto mode. Okay, but right here it says auto. Okay, I'll you read that, but it says auto. If you turn the dial right here at the front, okay, then it will go into what's called manual mode, which means that you control the shutter speed and the aperture. But if you just want to have fun, take photos, keep it in auto. Okay, make sure it's focused. This is the focus ring. Okay, and the ring next to the lens with the numbers on it right here, that green 22, is the aperture for the lens. Okay, so you do need to control this a little bit, and I'll show you what the light meter looks like on the inside and all that, but otherwise it's pretty easy. Okay, to turn the camera on, there's an on-off switch right here, so just put it to on. Hold on, sorry. Put it to on right there. Okay, off, on. Okay, so just make sure you turn it off when you're done, otherwise the battery will drain out. All right, so once it's on, you crank, fire, and the camera itself will figure out how fast or slow the shutter speed should work for you. Okay, so again, sweet lens. You can take really nice portraits with this lens. in this camera. Get a really nice film look, because you're shooting film obviously, but this thing will do a really good job for you, and it'll be a lot of fun for you to use. Okay, once you're done with your film and you've taken 22-ish, 24 photos, like you'll notice that it's like kind of like this. Okay, so then what you'll do is you will push the film release button, which is right here. Okay, so you push this button right here, boom. All right, that button right there, push that button down. You will open up the crank. This little handle opens up like this, and you'll see that little arrow right there, tells you which way to go. Crank, 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 it'll make a little bit of noise, and then you'll feel it kind of release. It'll just be much easier. Okay, pull this up, okay, and then just pull it, once you get it to here, just pop it, like that. And this thing will open up for you, and then you've got the inside of the camera. You can load another round, load more film, put it in, piece of cake, okay? You'll have a blast with this thing. Have a ton of fun. I will show you what the light meter looks like on the inside right now. Okay, so this is what the inside of your camera looks like, and when you look through the camera on the right hand side, you'll see that scale. If you push the shutter button halfway down, that'll activate the light meter. Right now your camera is in auto mode, okay? So basically it's good, but it's still going to tell you, depending on what aperture you have the lens set at, how fast the shutter is going to fire. You want that number to be higher than 60, okay? Well, 60 means 1/60th of a second, so these are all fractions, right? And we would have already talked about this in class. Okay, so right now it's set at, your lens aperture is set at 1.7, which means that's the most light that the lens will allow. If I adjust it, watch what happens to the shutter speed. The shutter speed is adjusting and going slower. I'm closing the light, I'm closing the aperture and allowing less light into the lens. Therefore, the shutter speed has to slow down to compensate, to make sure it has proper exposure. Okay, so right now I'm at f11, and you can see it's at like 1/4 to 1/8 of a second. Okay, that's f8, 5/6, okay, f4, f2.8, and f1.7. Okay, so it's, I mean, I'm in the classroom, it's not super dark out or bright in here, so that's what happens. If I put my hand in front, you'll see, right, how it's adjusting, how the light meter is adjusting. And if I take this paper and I get closer, see how the light meter is adjusting itself to compensate for the amount of white or bright light that it's seeing. Okay, so that's kind of what's happening with that. All right, so again, this camera isn't auto for you. All you have to do is adjust the aperture, make sure you turn it on, and have a ton of fun. Okay, Alyssa, this is yours. This is the Nicormat FT, and this is the classic photojournalism camera. Back in the day, all the pros used this camera. This thing is a fantastic mechanical camera. Anyways, okay, to turn the camera on, the first thing you're going to do is, with this little film crank, you just go like that and it's on. So if you see the red dot that's right there, okay, then you know that the camera is on. Okay, what does that mean? That means that the light meter will be active, and that means if you put this back in your bag and you don't turn it off like that, then it'll continue to read, and eventually your battery will die and we have to replace the battery, which is no big deal, but it's just one more thing to do. Okay, so camera is on. To advance the film, you go like that. Take a picture by pushing the shutter button. Advance the film, boom. Okay, there is tension on this. Okay, there is tension. All right, and it's made like that on purpose so that you don't accidentally just rewind the film. Okay, so just, you'll get used to it. It's easy. All right, to focus, you're going to use this front dial right here to focus, and you'll notice when you look through the eyepiece, when you're focusing, if it's in focus, it's focus. If it's not, it's not. Okay, to adjust the aperture, you're going to do that on the ring right here. Okay, simple. All right, to adjust the shutter speed, the shutter speed lever is here. Okay, this thing right here. Okay, but the numbers are on this side. Okay, so that's where it gets a little bit tricky. Okay, you're going to want to adjust the numbers here. You can read and see the numbers inside, so you'll know exactly where you are. Okay, but otherwise there are numbers right here, okay, on this edge. I don't know if you can see that, but there's numbers right here, and you want to make sure you shoot at 1/60th of a second or faster. 60, 125, 250, 500, 1000. Okay, and the higher numbers are in red. Okay, but otherwise super fun to use. I will show you how to read the light meter on the inside of this in a second. Secondly, once you finish shooting film, turn it over, hit the release right here. Okay, push that button, boom. Okay, you will open up the crank handle right there, just like that. Turn it. There's an arrow that tells you which way to turn it. You'll feel the film release, okay, from this side, and it'll go back into the canister. Okay, you lift this up, and then what you do is there's a lever right here, this little thing right here. You simply just pop it open, and then that will open up your camera. Okay, and then you can put another roll of film in there, load it in, close this, close that, give it a couple of cranks, boom, boom, boom. So you see the 1 right here, your film counter is right there, and you're ready to rock and roll. Okay, have a ton of fun shooting. Let's see what you come up with, and I will talk to you. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, Alyssa, this is the inside of your camera. On the right hand side you will see that light meter. Okay, that plus minus thing, that thing doesn't move. The only thing that moves is the needle that's there. Okay, so if I adjust the aperture, okay, and I close the aperture down, meaning I allow less light in, then you can see how the needle is going or on the negative side. Okay, once you see that, then you're like, okay, I don't have enough light coming in. I need to open up my aperture or lower my aperture number. Okay, so as long as it's inside that box, you're good. If it's in between the gap between the opening, then that's perfect exposure. But anything within that little box, like right now the meter is at the top of the box, then you're good. Okay, the other thing that you would adjust is the shutter speed, and as I increase the shutter speed it gets darker. As I slow the shutter speed, you can see that it gets brighter, but it's also right there. That's dead perfect exposure. Now you can tell if I move this white paper towards it, you can see how the camera light meter is adjusting. Okay, so depending on kind of what's going on and what the light meter sees, the meter will adjust, and then you need to then adjust your settings to make sure that it is in the right place. Okay, so if it's really bright like this, then what I would do is adjust the aperture, okay, on the camera maybe, to get it to close the aperture to allow less light, but that's going to give me perfect exposure because it's so bright, and I've got this giant white piece of paper here that's creating this reflection. Okay, so when you're outside, you're going to be able to shoot faster shutter speed, and a little bit closed down aperture, right, or f-stop, to make sure that you have proper exposure. Okay, so remember, look at that needle on the right hand side, and that will tell you exactly what's happening. Okay, and make sure everything's in focus. And again, what you see is, if it's in focus in your camera, then it'll be in focus on your photos. All right, have fun. Okay, Jasmine, this is your camera, the Ricoh. Okay, the KR10, right? Classic photojournalist camera. Back in the day, this thing was like the thing to get. Anyways, couple things about this camera. It has an auto mode. Auto is going to make this super fun for you to use. It is a little bit quirky. I put 2 rolls of film through it, and once I had a problem where I rewound, or I advanced the film, took a picture, and it got kind of like jammed. I was like, what the heck's going on? So what you do is, if you try to advance it and it stops like right here, okay, then what you're going to do is just kind of go like this, back and forth, and it'll release, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, so sometimes it happened to me once in 2 rolls of film, but I checked it out, and the thing is 35 years old, so it's got a little bit of a limp, but that's okay. You'll be all right. All right, so this dial right here, okay, this dial, you're going to keep it on auto, and you'll know that it's on auto because it's on this black mark right here. Okay, so right here in green it says auto. that's what you're going to make sure that it stays on, okay? The only thing that you need to control is the aperture ring, okay? And that's this thing right here, okay? And obviously focus, okay? So this is focus, the big front thing is focus. So when you're looking through here, okay, if it's not in focus, then you know you need to focus it, okay? I'll show you what the light meter looks like inside the camera, but basically this is the aperture. 1.7 is wide open and closed is f22. Okay, the 2.2 right here. We're going off of that red. We're going off of the red mark right there, that little red line. f22, 1611, 8, 5.6, 4, 2.8, and then 1.7. Okay. Now, once you're done shooting, boom, 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 right? You get to the end of the roll and you're like, you look at the number and it's on like 22, 24. Then you know you're done shooting, okay? Like right, oh look, it jammed right there, perfect. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go like this and it'll just release itself. Oh, well it might help if I take a picture. Okay, so I thought it was, wait, okay? So, make sure that, you know, while you're rewinding it, I'm trying to make it jam and now it won't, but there you go. Okay? So, once you're done taking a photo, turn the camera over, you hit this black dot, this little black button right here. That's gonna release the film. You're going to then turn this thing and open it up, this little handle right here, this handle, and you're going to turn it. You'll see that there's an arrow. It tells you which direction to go. Okay, you'll feel the film rewinding back into the film canister. Okay, when you're done, you pull this straight up, and then you give it a little pull, and this thing pops open. Just like that. Close it, done. Okay, again, boom. As soon as I lift this up, it already pops open. Okay, pretty easy. All right, and that's about it. I mean, it's pretty, you know, this will be a lot of fun for you to use. Remember, keep it in auto right here. Okay, the black dot on the green auto sign. Okay, and then just make sure, I'll show you what the inside of the camera looks like for the light meter so you understand how fast the shutter is firing. And as long as it's above 60, you'll be good to go. Okay, so again, lots of fun. You'll have a blast with this thing. Okay, Jazz, so here's the deal. On the right-hand side of your camera, or the screen, the viewfinder, when you look in there, I'm trying to focus that, there you go. Okay, you will see that scale of numbers on the right-hand side. Okay, when you push the shutter button halfway down, a needle will pop out, and it'll tell you how fast the shutter speed will shoot before you take a picture. So if I take a picture, well, hold on, let me rewind the film. I push the button halfway down, it's telling me it's going to shoot at 125th of a second. That's a fraction of a second, 125th. I take a picture, there you go. Okay, you want to make sure that that needle is at 60 or higher. You don't want to shoot any slower than 1/60th of a second. So if I push the button halfway down and I adjust the aperture and I close the aperture, so now it's at 2.8, it's at 1/30th of a second. Okay. That means there's not enough light for you to take a picture that is going to be sharp because you're holding this camera with your hands. If it was on a tripod and not moving, it wouldn't be a big deal. Okay, so if I increase the aperture or allow more light in, then it'll be good. Now watch what happens. I'm going to add a big reflection in front and see how the shutter speed is going to go faster because it thinks, well, because there's a much brighter source, more light is coming into the lens. And that's why you're going to get that. Okay, if I take it away, then it goes lower. Okay, I add it, and the shutter speed goes to 1/500th or even faster. Okay, less bright light, slower shutter speed. More bright light, faster shutter speed. Okay, so that's kind of how that relationship works. Okay, so again, your camera is going to be in auto mode. All you need to do is make sure that you have the needle at 1/60th. Okay, the 60 right there in the middle, that number or higher, okay? And if you need to adjust it, then you can adjust it with the aperture on the lens, which is the 1.7, the 2.8, the f4, 5.6, that's this thing. Well, I already showed it to you in the previous video. Okay, so have tons of fun shooting pictures and making pictures, and I will see what you come up with, all right? Okay, summer. This is your camera, the Chinon. This is made by Ricoh. Okay, Japanese company, a great little camera. To turn the camera on, power on, you just have the film advance lever, be in that position. To turn it off, you do that. Okay, on, I don't know what's going on with my lighting, but okay, on, off. Okay, simple. All right, the shutter speed dial is this dial right here. Okay, and you're going to go off of the white tick right there, and then the number that's next to it. So right now it's on 60, and now it's going to go faster, 125, 250, 500, and 1,000. Okay, these are fractions of a second, right? We would have already talked about this in class. Okay, now the aperture that you're going to be controlling is this dial right here. Okay, it goes as far down as 2, f2, 2.8, f4, 5.6, f8, f11, 16, 22. Okay, and so for you, you're going to want to, and actually this thing will actually go in auto mode, in A mode. So if you want to, I'll keep in A mode for you, so that all you have to do is deal with the shutter speed, and that'll make it a little bit easier for you if you want. But if you want to really control everything, then you can put it in manual mode. But this has an auto mode, and that'll probably be easier for you. All right, so it'll be in auto mode when you get it. Okay, so all you do is control the shutter speed, advance, push this button to take a picture. Advance, push, advance, push. Okay, super simple. Okay, the light meter is this red light right here, right there. Okay, so, and I'll give you a close-up of this to make it a little bit easier for you to see. Okay, and we'll talk about all that stuff. All right, so outside of that, this thing is easy. Once you're done shooting and the film is at its end and it can't rewind anymore, okay, you're going to open up that lever right there, and you'll see an arrow tell you which way to go, but it's always this way. Okay, you wind it in, you'll hear and feel it kind of winding back into the canister. Okay, and then it'll release, and it'll be really easy to turn this thing. It won't be hard to start off, but you got to turn the thing in. Okay, all you do is lift this up, give it a little pop, and the back will release, and that's the back of your camera. The film will be right here. Okay, otherwise close it, put that down, and you're good to go. Oh, and you got to push the button first, sorry. So I'll do that over. Okay, you're at the end. Push this button to release. Boom. Crank, and then pop it open. Okay, so button, that's 1. Turn, 2, pop it open, 3, take it out, 4. Okay, piece of cake. I'll show you the light meter next. Okay, so this is your camera, and what we're looking at is we're looking at this red light that's right there. Okay, or the light itself actually, it doesn't matter, well it matters if it's red, but okay, if I push the button halfway down, it's going to tell me, it's going to give me a light. It's going to be red, green, red or green. If it's the upper light, then it's overexposed. If it's the lower red light, it's underexposed, meaning that's perfect exposure right now. Okay, green is good. Okay, if I shoot too fast, then it's going to be the bottom red light, and that means I need to slow down the shutter speed or adjust the aperture. Okay, whatever it's going to be. Okay, so what I would do is, I told you that this lens was an auto aperture lens. I was wrong, so I take that back. But honestly, I'm not going to refilm that whole thing because I've been doing this all day. All right, so just being honest. Okay, so what you're going to do is this. You're going to, if you adjust the aperture, okay, if you adjust the aperture, then it will adjust what it's doing. But what I would do is I would shoot everything at what's called f4, okay, and that's, when I give it to you, it'll be an f4 on the lens, okay, and we've already gone through, would have already gone through all this in class, but just for this specific camera, the way I did a little research, the way that it shoots, you're going to want to keep it at f4. Okay, you're going to then adjust the shutter speed to make sure that the shutter speed is correct, okay, and so you also don't want to shoot any slower than 1/60th of a second. Okay, 1/60th. Just remember that. And I would have told you this in class. Okay, 1/60th is pretty much the slowest that you can shoot with with you holding the camera with your hands and not having any movement where the pictures are going to turn out fuzzy. Okay, so to activate the light meter, you're going to push the shutter speed button down halfway, and that'll turn the light meter on. And then you can make your adjustments as you need to with the shutter speed. Okay, and you should be good to go. Alright, so you push it halfway down, the little light will be right in your eye, and then you can adjust as you need to. Okay, and I'm just going up one, equal, down one. Okay, if it's brighter, so right now it's at 1/60th. If I bring this closer, this big bright white piece of paper, you'll see that it's underexposed. I need to then adjust it now. I had to double the shutter speed to make sure it's correct. But if I take this light away, it'll go underexposed, and then I need to adjust it. I need to adjust for that shutter, okay, for that lack of light. If I bring this back, it's going to say, oh, it's really bright. Increase your shutter speed. Okay, there you go. So I'm now at 1/25th of a second, which is faster than 1/30th of a second, right? 1/30th of a second is slower. Now it's too bright again, then 1/25th of a second, okay? So that's the correlation, that's how the relationship of light and film works, okay? The more bright light you have, the faster the shutter speed you need to show, okay, or shoot with, all right? Have fun, make awesome photos. Okay, Sylvia, this is you. You got the Minolta XG1, fantastic little fun camera to use, okay? This has an auto mode, so that means that all you need to do is make sure that you control the aperture and make sure that you're shooting at a certain shutter speed, and otherwise this thing will be easy. It'll think for you, it'll do the shutter for you. Okay, it's easy. So advance the lever and make sure you turn it on first, that'd be good. Okay, sorry, turn it on, that's over here. I put it on, okay? So you can see that right there, that's the on button. If I adjust this right here, that's off. Okay, turn it on. Okay, so advance the film, take a picture. Okay, so as long as this dial right here is on A mode, hold on. This dial right here, that little white tick, and it's on A, okay, you can't really move this unless you push the button to release it. Okay, so this thing is set at A for you. Okay, advance, and then you push the button and you fire, which is in the middle right here. Boom. Okay, in the middle. Boom. All right. To adjust the aperture, that's this dial right here. Okay, this lens goes from f2 all the way to f16. Okay, f2 is down here, f16, and the focus, you focus like this. Okay, so when you look through the camera, when you look through this, you're going to focus, and if it looks like it's in focus, then go ahead and fire and take your picture. Okay, easy. All right, if I were you, if I was using this camera, actually I did use this camera and it worked really well, I would keep it at f2. I like to shoot everything wide open. Okay, if it's really sunny, then I'll close it down a little bit, and we'll talk about all this stuff in class. Okay, now let's say you finish your roll of film. What do? So you're like this, and you're like, wait, it won't rewind anymore. And you look and you're like, oh, I'm at like 24. And then the little counter, there's numbers right here. Okay. Once you get to that point, then what you'll do is turn the camera over and you'll press the release. Okay. Boom. Press the release. You'll open up the crank right here, turn that little thing, and there's a little arrow on the handle that tells you which way to go. But you'll go like this and you'll feel the film returning back into the canister that's here. Boom, 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 boom. And then you'll feel it kind of release. And you're like, oh, it's way easy now. All you do is lift this up and give it a little pop, and it'll open up, and your film canister will be right here. You just take it out. There'll be no little film in it. There'll be film inside of it, but nothing out on the outside. And that's it. Okay, you put a new roll of film, load it into this slot right here, close it, boom, and take a couple of wind shots until you get it back to 1, and you are ready to go. Okay, I will show you what it looks like on the inside next. okay? So you can understand how fast your shutter is firing and what the light meter looks like. I'll show that to you right now. All right, so here's what's going on. So when you look on the inside of your camera, you'll see on the right-hand side, you'll see that scale of numbers right there. Okay, if I push the shutter button halfway down, a red light will tell you how fast the shutter speed is going to fire according to what it sees for the light is going to be. Okay, so right now it's going to shoot at 1/60th of a second. Now, let's say it gets brighter outside. Okay, and I'm going to bring this bright white paper. See how the shutter speed is going faster? Okay, the shutter speed is going faster because I've brought in more light, and so the shutter has to go faster so that it doesn't overexpose the film or the picture. If I take this away, it lowers and gets down to what, 1/60th of a second right there. Okay, I bring in more light, a reflection, then you can see that it's going faster. Okay, now there is a way to adjust that. The way to adjust, you can adjust the aperture. And if I adjust the aperture, I'm going to try to do this with one hand. Good luck. Move. Yeah, you're not moving. Okay, if I adjust the aperture, so I'll adjust the aperture right now to like f5.6. Okay, at f5.6, it's going to shoot at 1/60th of a second. But if I open the lens up, it's going to go faster. And I'm adjusting the aperture with one hand, which is tricky while I halfway press this button. But that's what's happening. You want to make sure that when you're taking photos, that red light is 1/60th, or the 60 right there that you see, 60, 125, 250, 500, 1000. You want it to be one of those numbers. You don't want it to be any slower than 1/60th of a second. Okay, or the 60 there. These are all fractions. So 1/25th of a second, 1/250th of a second, 1/500th of a second, 1/1000th of a second. Okay, you do not want to shoot at 1/30th of a second. That's too slow for you to have sharp photos while you're holding the camera with your hands. If it was on a tripod, it wouldn't matter because it doesn't move. But you're actually moving when you're taking pictures. So you want to be at 1/60th. 1/25th would be even better. All right? So I hope you enjoyed taking photos and making great images. Any questions, just let me know. All right? Have fun. Okay. Alejandro, you have the Nikon FT, or the Nikkormat FT. It's made by Nikon, same thing. This is a photojournalist camera that back in the day was like the professional standard. Really great camera to use. Super easy. Okay, number one, to turn the camera on, all you do is turn the film crank forward, and then you'll see that red dot right there. This means it's on. That's important because that means the light meter is working. If you leave it on like this all the time, the battery will die, and then we have to replace the batteries. Cheap, easy, but still something more to do. The batteries are here, right there. Little button batteries. Okay, to advance the film, you just go like that. To take a picture, you push this button right here. Simple. Boom, boom. Okay, you've got a great lens on here, the Nikon Nikkor 50 1.8, super sharp lens. Okay, so this is how you take pictures. 1, 2, 3. Okay, boom. All right, now to control the shutter speed, that's this thing on the side right here. Okay, but the numbers are on this side. So you're going off of the black dot that's right there, that little black dot, and you'll see the numbers right here, which you may not be able to see because of the shine of the light. But basically what's going to happen is with your left thumb, while you're holding the camera, you're going to do this, and that'll adjust the shutter speed right here. Okay? Now, what you're going to do to adjust the aperture, that's right here. Okay, so this lens is 1.8, and you're going off of this black dot. Okay, and you're just going to be doing it this way. Okay, so I'll try to do it this way for you, but okay, that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so to adjust, and then obviously to adjust the shutter, it's like that. Okay, so I will show you what the inside of the camera looks like so you can understand how to adjust for the light meter, so you understand if you're getting proper exposure or not. But otherwise, that's it. Now, once your film is done, okay, once you're done shooting and the roll is filled, the counter is right there, okay? And you're like, oh wait, it won't go anymore, right? Besides shoot, you took your last shot and you're like, wait, what? Okay, it must be done, okay?
All right. What you're going to do is you've released the film. Okay, you push that button. You've rewound all the film. All right. Okay. Right. There's not, when you lift this up, this is the release, but there's a lever right here. All right. Pull this lever, push this lever, this little, with your thumb, just go like that, and the back of the camera will open up. Okay? Okay, and you'll see that your film is going to be right here on this side. Okay, just take the film canister out. If you're going to shoot another roll, put another roll in, and then you put it in this slot on this side, that little slot right there. Okay? Close it. Boom, boom. And you're good to go. Okay, I'll show you the inside right now. Okay, Alejandro, this is the inside of your camera. On the right hand side you'll see this light meter. Okay, so that needle that you see, you want that needle to be in between the gap. See the gap that's in between the opening between the plus and the negative? You want the needle to be in between that little opening. Now, if it's inside of the box, then it's acceptable. Okay, that's acceptable exposure, but so you do have some leeway. Okay, so you have a choice. You can adjust the shutter speed. So right now I'm adjusting the shutter speed. I've increased the shutter speed super fast, and that's why it is so negative. It's outside of the entire meter. If I slow it down, it'll bring itself back into a proper exposure reading. Okay, now if I take this big white piece of paper and I push it in front of the camera, watch what happens. See how the meter's like, oh, it's overexposed, it's overexposed, you need to make an adjustment. So then what I would do is I would make an adjustment on the shutter speed, and I would increase the shutter speed to make it go faster so that less light hits the film, and eventually I will get a reading where it's positive, or it's not positive, but it's correct exposure, acceptable. Okay, so right now it's at like 1/500th of a second. Okay, if I take the paper away, there's not enough bright light at 1/500th of a second, so I need to slow the shutter speed down until it's something acceptable, and right now it's at 1/60th of a second, and you can see that right there, it's in the proper exposure. The same thing goes with the aperture, so you can control the aperture as well from f2 to f16, and you can see that when I do that at f16 right now, it is negative, or it is underexposed. Okay, at f4 it's almost properly exposed. 2.8 is right about there, but f2 is right where it needs to be. Okay, again, if I bring this paper in though, okay, now it's way overexposed, right? And at f2. But if I close the aperture and I change it to f4, f5.6, it looks like f8, f5.6 is about right. Okay, any one of those two will work. Okay, so remember, in aperture, the higher the number, less light comes in. The lower the number, more light comes in. Less light, higher number, lower number, more light. Okay, that's how aperture works. It's reversed. Okay, we would have already talked about this in class. Okay, so that's what it is. You want to make sure that you are in that little gap right there, and then you'll know that your photos, as long as they're focused, they will be properly exposed. All right, have fun, make great and awesome photos. Okay, Najia, you have the Miranda, right? The Miranda is a fun little camera, super easy to use, works really well, pretty simple. Okay, so to turn the camera on, all you do is you go like that, and it's on. Off, on. Okay, a little tension, but you know it's on. All right, to advance the film, you just do that. To take a picture, you push this button right here. Okay, advance, fire, advance, fire, advance, fire. Okay, the shutter speed dial is right here. Okay, and you're going off of, I don't know if you can see that, but you see that little, hold on, where are we? Okay, you see that little line that's right there? Okay, sort of. It's easier to see in person, but that line right there. Okay, that coincides with the number. Okay, so once you right now it's at 60. Okay, you want to shoot at 60, or it's at 125. 60 is the lowest that you want to shoot at.
1/60th of a second. 125 is like the best to make sure that you're not having any camera shake with you hand holding and taking a picture. Now to adjust the aperture, that's right here. That's this dial right here. Okay, and you're basically going off of this red line. That's right there in the middle of the lens. Okay, so that is f16. That means it's not letting in very much light. And that is f2. That's letting in the most light that this lens will allow. f2 is perfect for portraits and taking pictures of people and stuff like that. If you're just out and about in the community, on the street or whatever, and just taking photos of friends and stuff, f5.6 is a nice balance. Okay, so your advance, fire, advance, fire. When you get to the end of the roll of film, you'll no longer be able to advance and fire. Okay, and you'll look at the counter. The counter is right there. Okay, right there. Okay, what you'll do is you flip it under, and you'll see this button right here. Okay, that button, that right there. Okay, push that button. Okay, you'll hear it click. Open this crank right here, this little crank thing. There's an arrow on the top. Okay, you'll feel the film rewinding back into the canister, and then all of a sudden it'll release. Lift this up and give it a little pull, and the back will pop open, and your film will be right here. Okay, right here, completely sealed inside the canister, away from all the light. Okay, take it out. If you're going to put a new roll of film in, put a new roll of film in. You feed it into this slot right here. Okay, and these are the gears. Feed it into that slot, and you will take a picture, close it, put it back in, take another picture until you get to number 1 on the counter. You'll see a counter, number 1, and then you're ready to shoot another roll of film. Okay, sharp lens works really well. I will do a close-up inside of your camera so you can see what the light meter looks like, so you understand what exposures you're shooting at and all that good stuff. Okay? Okay, so Najia, this is the inside of your camera. On the left-hand side, you will see the light meter. If you push the button halfway down, you'll see a green dot, or you will see a negative, or, hold on, let me set this up this way, hold on. Or you'll see a negative, positive, or you'll see a negative. Okay? If it's negative, then that means it's underexposed. If it's positive, that means it's overexposed. That means there's too much light coming in. Negative means there's not enough light coming in. Okay? So what you'll do is when you push the button halfway down, the shutter button, the fire button, you push it halfway down, the light meter will activate, and it'll say, hey, not enough light, or hey, too much light, or whatever. Okay? At that point, you need to adjust your settings so that you get the green light. Okay, so you have a choice. You can use the shutter speed button and increase or decrease shutter, or you can increase or decrease the aperture, or you can do both. Okay, it just kind of depends on what you got going on. All right. Normally, if you're out and about and once you figure out the exposure, it normally doesn't change, so you can just keep shooting. Okay. But if you're shooting in the middle of the day and then all of a sudden it's evening or night, then there's not a lot of sunlight left, then you're going to have to adjust your settings to allow more light in by the aperture or slowing down the shutter speed. Okay. This is stuff that we would have talked about in class already, but this is just how you do it on your specific camera that's been assigned to you. You will have this camera. Okay. So again, look for the green light. If it's negative, you need to add more light. If it's positive, you need to take away light, and you need to try to find that happy medium and the green light. Okay. Now, honestly, with this camera and with film, if you're one click off, okay, then you're usually okay. All right, just keep that in mind. If you're one click off like that, I'm one click off. This is 2.8. Aperture to f2.8. If I drop it to f2, it's a little bit too bright, but you know what? You still should be okay. You just don't want to be extreme. Okay, you don't want to be extreme with your settings. All right, one click, you're usually okay. All right, enjoy making photos. Talk to you soon. Okay, Noelia, this is your camera. You got the Ricoh. This is a perfectly easy, super easy standard Japanese camera. Works really well, super sharp lens, all the good stuff. Okay, so to turn the camera on, you just take the advance lever and you go like that, and now the camera's on. Okay, to advance the film, you do that. To take a picture, you push that button right there. Okay, boom. Easy. Okay, to adjust the shutter speed, that's this dial right here. Okay, you're basically going off of this white mark right here, and you are just going to keep it at, you want to try to shoot no slower than 1/60th of a second, the 60 on here. Okay, these are whole numbers, but they represent fractions of a second, not obviously seconds. Okay, 1/25th, which is in red, is kind of the magic, that's like the number for you making sure everything is sharp, but because you're hand holding the camera, you're not putting it on a tripod. Okay, so advance the film, take a picture, adjust the shutter speed with this dial up here. Okay, to adjust the aperture, you're going to do that right here. Okay, and that's this red line right here in the middle. Okay, it goes from 2.2, which is the most light, all the way to f16. Okay, all right, so 2.2, f16, there you go, and anything in between. All right, I would probably recommend keeping it about f4 to 2.8, 2.2, f4, something in there. That's the way I like to shoot it. It allows you to have faster shutter speed, right? Well, we would have talked about all that stuff in class. Okay, so let's say you've taken your 23rd or 4th photo and the end of the roll has been reached. What do? Okay, you won't be able to advance the film anymore because it's now done. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn it under or turn it over. Okay, you're going to push this button right here. Okay, then you're going to take this little crank and open it up, and you're going to turn. And there's an arrow that tells you which way to go in case you can't remember. Boom, 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 and you'll feel the film feed into the canister, and then it'll just release. Okay, and then you go here. You lift this up, you give it a little pull, it'll release and open, and your film canister will be right there. The film will be safely inside, nothing will be out of it, and you'll be good to go. Okay, put in your roll of film, you'll feed it into the far slot down here. Okay, close it, go here, couple of 1, 2, 3s, okay, till you get to the counter 1, and the film counter, so I'm doing this backwards. The film counter is right here, and you can see the numbers are in there when you look at them. Okay, and then obviously to focus, you focus like this. This is manual focus. All right, we're going old school. Okay, back in the day when Peter Parker was popular. All right, any questions? Let me know. I'm going to show you what the light meter looks like. I'm going to film inside the viewfinder, and you'll have a ton of fun taking photos. All right. Okay, Noelia, this is the inside of your camera. If you push the shutter button halfway down, then you will see that you have the green light. Okay, that green light tells you that this is properly exposed. Now, if you make an adjustment, okay, if we make an adjustment with let's say you have negative light. Okay, you have that negative sign. That's telling you that it's too dark and that something your exposure will be underexposed. Your photo will be underexposed, which means you need to either slow the shutter speed down or open up the aperture. Okay, so what I'm going to do is right now the aperture or the shutter speed is set at 1/500th of a second. I'm going to slow it down. 250, no. 125, good. 125 is the magic number. If I go too slow to 60, you'll see that positive sign. And I'm now down to 1/15th of a second. Okay, that red plus means it's overexposed and you need to either increase the shutter speed or you need to close the aperture. And I'm going to close the aperture a little bit until I get that green light. Okay, now if you have the green light and a plus or a minus, then that's telling you it is properly exposed, but it's a little over or a little under, and that's okay. All right, that's okay. All right, so whenever you take photos, you want that green light right there. It'll be on the left-hand side when you look into the camera and you push the shutter button halfway down. Okay, half press, and that's what you'll get. Okay, and then you can adjust from there. All right? So again, make sure you focus and have a fun time making photos. All right? Okay, Sadie, you have the Nikon F2. Okay, the Nikon F2. Great camera. This was the professional choice back in the 70s, even into the early 80s, and it was a camera that is, it's actually a collector's item, and a lot of people, I have a custom made one and it cost me a ton of money. Anyways, all right, to turn the camera on, okay, all you do is, hold on, I'm doing this backwards. To turn the camera on, all you do is you open up the advanced lever, and you see that that little red dot right there. That means the camera is on. Okay, if you're not using the camera, turn it off. Okay, on, off, on, off. Obviously, to advance the film, after you take a picture, advance the film, take a picture, advance the film, take a picture. Okay, the shutter speed. So this whole housing on the top is your light meter. It's also where you adjust the shutter speed. Okay, so when you're looking at the shutter speed, okay, the numbers, the way that this thing works is the white dot that's right here. Where am I? The white dot that's right there. Okay, the number that's underneath it corresponds to whatever shutter speed you're shooting at. Okay, the green numbers are the faster, easier, better numbers to shoot at. It's just kind of a visual representation to kind of help you remember to shoot at like 1/25th, but you can shoot at 1/60th and be just fine. Okay, so I know it's kind of hard to see, but there we go. All right, so there you go. All right, this will shoot all the way to 2,000th of a second because this thing is fairly modern as compared to the cameras of the day. All right, now film, adjust, shoot. The aperture adjustment is right here. It's the inside ring, and you're going to be looking at, let's see, what's the best way to do this? There you go. You're going to be looking at, there's a black dot on the lens, which might be a little bit tough for you to see, but there's a black dot right here. But also, when you're looking into the camera, you can see what aperture you're set at. Okay, but otherwise, you adjust the aperture right here. Okay, so this lens will go all the way from 1.8, which is super open, all the way to what, f22, which is very closed down. And we would have talked about all of those numbers and what that means in class by the time you see this video. Okay, so, and then focus obviously is right here. This is a manual focus lens. Okay, so let's say you finish shooting. What do we do? Okay, how do we know? First off, it would have stopped. You won't be able to advance it anymore, nor will you be able to take a picture. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll turn it upside down, and the film release button is this one right here. Push that button down right there. Turn the crank, or open the crank dial right there. Okay, and you turn it. There's an arrow that says go this way. Okay, boom, 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 and you'll feel the film rewinding into the canister, and then it will release because all of the film would have left this side, and now it's inside of the canister. And when that happens, pull this up, give it a little pull. Oh, just kidding. Rewind it, pull this up, and then you're going to go on the bottom. I forgot this is the F2. Okay, and you'll see an arrow that says open, or O. You're going to turn this like this, okay, and that will allow you to then pop this open. Okay, so again, once this is closed and all that stuff, you turn this and you just turn it. Boom, give it a little boom, and it'll open up for you. Okay, and then all of your film will be in a canister right here. Put a new film, you put it into the end one right here, and you give it a couple of cranks, close it. Okay, give it a couple more cranks, 1, 2, okay, until you look at the counter. The counter is right there, that number right there. When it gets to 1, you know you're ready to go. All right, I will show you what the inside of this looks like and how you can adjust the shutter and the aperture so that you get proper exposure. All right. Okay, Sadie, so this is inside of your camera. This is the bottom, and when you look through the viewfinder on the bottom, you will see the shutter speed, okay, which is the dial. See how it's turning? So right now it's at 125 and at 250, and you can see the light meter is adjusting itself. So if you see that circle, then you are in proper exposure, but the light meter right now is telling you that it is slightly overexposed. Okay, if I lower or increase the shutter speed, I will darken the exposure. Okay, however, it's acceptable, but if I keep going at 1/500th of a second, then it is completely underexposed, and that's probably not going to work for you. Okay, so you can have that circle, okay, with a little bit of a negative, or that circle with a little bit of a positive, and you'll be okay. As long as you have the circle, you'll be okay. Again, the aperture and the shutter work together to give you proper exposure. Now, if I bring this white reflective paper in front, see what happens? The light meter is like, hey, it's really bright. You need to increase the aperture, which I'm doing right now. I went from f1.8 to f4, and that adjusted it. Or I can again increase the shutter speed, and that will help me to do what I need, to show what I need to show. Okay? So again, that's how you control it. That's how you read light and control your light meter, or read your light meter, so you know exactly what you're doing. Again, you want that little circle right there, and then obviously if you focus, I don't think this thing will focus, sort of. Okay, but you want to make sure that you have that little circle showing so that you know that you have proper exposure. Okay? Got any questions? Let me know. Otherwise, have a great time making photos. Okay, Mike, this is your camera, the Vivitar V2000. Fun little awesome camera. Nice lens, 50mm, 1.7. Takes great photos, easy to use, light meter works, everything's good. Okay, number one, how do you turn the camera on? To turn the camera on, you just do that. Okay? If the advance lever, this is the film advance lever, if this is forward like this, the camera is on. To turn it off, just do that. Okay? Alright, to advance the film, just do that. To take a picture, you're using this button right here, just do that. Okay, simple. Alright, simple. To adjust the shutter speed, so to adjust the shutter speed, that's this dial right here. Okay, you don't want to shoot any slower than 1/60th of a second. Okay, remember these are fractions of a second, they're not seconds. 1/60th, but 125 is kind of that sweet spot, and that's why it's in red. Okay, the film counter is on this camera right here. Okay, and the aperture is right here. Okay, that's this right here, and you're going to be going off of this red mark right here. Okay, that red mark. Okay, so the lens goes from 1.7 all the way to f16. Okay, all right, and I will show you what it looks like. I will film the inside of the camera. Okay, so you can see what it looks like and how to read the light meter and all that stuff and how to adjust it. Okay, but otherwise, okay, advance, take a picture, advance, take a picture. Okay, once you're done with the film and the film roll is done, you'll know because you can't advance it anymore, and you also shouldn't be able to take a picture. Okay, once that happens, turn the camera upside down. Okay, you're going to hit this button right here, this little button right there to release. Okay, and then you are going to open up the crank. Okay, it just opens up like that, no big deal. Okay, and then there's an arrow here that points going this way, and you're going to rewind the film back into the canister. Okay, your camera will have film in it when you get it. Okay, boom, 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 boom. You'll feel it release into it. Okay, and it won't have very much tension once it's all the way back into the canister. Lift this up, and then give it a little pull. And it will open up, and your film will be, your film will be over here. Okay, and take out the canister. If you want to put in a new roll of film, put in a new roll, feed it into this slot over here. Okay, into this thing, and then look at my instructions on that video on that, and then close it, and you're good to go. Okay, so that's how you do it. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have fun. Oh, and focus, sorry, you need to focus. You'll focus with this. Okay, so first dial is aperture, second dial is focus. Okay. Okay, Mike, so this is the inside of your camera. On the right-hand side, you will see where the light meter is, okay? And to activate the light meter, you're going to push the shutter button halfway down, okay? And when you do that, you will see either a plus or a minus, okay? So that means it's overexposed. That means it's underexposed, okay? If you see that little black where there is nothing, then you're good. So as you're kind of checking, going, oh, it's right there. Okay, so I'm clicking on the aperture right now, f5.6, f4, f2.8, so you know it's f4. Okay, sometimes that little red center dot goes green, but a lot of times it won't. Okay, your camera's 35 years old. So what'll happen is when it reads the light, okay, and you're kind of clicking through and you're like, okay, what are we trying to do here? You want to make sure that as you look at the scene and as the camera looks at the scene, you want to make sure that light meter, okay, is reading, like right now it's positive, so I'm going to adjust it, and now it's negative, it's too fast, okay, but you want to make sure that it is reading the light and you're understanding what settings, what you're trying to control, okay. Normally once you set the aperture, like once you figure out the exposure, you don't really need to change the settings. You can just focus on what you're focus on the subject and then take the photo. Okay. So if you're outside and it's sunny, okay, you're going to shoot at like f8 and about 1/500th of a second. I'm just going to tell you that's going to be the setting. Okay, f8, maybe f5.6, 1/500th of a second, outside sunny, and you're good to go. All right. Anyways, that's the light meter. It's that little positive, or in this case negative. I'm trying to control it while I'm looking through it, and it's a little bit tough, but that's what you want, okay? So again, if it's plus, that means there's too much light coming in. If it's negative, then there's not enough light coming in. All right, buddy? All right, have fun, make great photos. Okay, Sandra, you have the Nikkor mat by Nikon from the late 70s. This is the FTS. Or FT3 rather, sorry. A great little camera. This was the camera to go to. This thing went through wars, literally went through, was shot, used all throughout the Vietnam War. And was a great, sturdy, solid camera that a lot of photojournalists depended on. All right, so here's the deal, okay? To turn the camera on, all you do is go like that, and it's on, okay? So if you see this little red dot right here, that red dot, you know the camera's on. To turn it off, go like that. On, off, okay? Simple. To take a picture, rewind or advance the film with the lever, push this button right here. Advance, push. Advance, this button right here, push. Simple, okay? To control the aperture, you're going to use this right here on the lens, okay? Can you see that? All right? And you're going off of the black dot that you see right there. That black dot is kind of telling you what aperture you're at. So it's like f22 all the way to f1.8. Okay, so there you go, aperture. To adjust the shutter speed, you are going to use this little lever right here. Okay, this lever will adjust the shutter speed on this side. So with your left hand, you will adjust the shutter speed, but on the right side, you can see those numbers, hopefully, sort of, right there, those red numbers, and that black dot that's right there, okay? That's going to be your shutter speed, okay? On this camera, you'll see the shutter speed inside when you look through the viewer right here. You will see the numbers adjusting, okay, with the light meter, and I'll show you all that in a second. All right. How do you focus? Simple. Front of the lens, focus right here. So this one's aperture, this one's focus, okay? What else do you need to know? Oh, when you're done shooting film. So when your roll is finished, okay, and you're like shoot, and then all of a sudden it won't advance anymore and it won't fire. And you look at the counter, this is the counter right here, okay? When you look at the counter, you'll notice that you're at around 24, 23, 24, 22, something like that. Okay? Simple. What do? Turn it under, push this button right here. Okay, push that button. Open up the crank. You just fold that up. You'll see that it's got a big arrow that says turn this way. You'll turn it. It'll make a noise. And then all of a sudden you'll feel it kind of release. And it'll be a lot easier to turn. Okay? At that point, what you're going to do is lift this up. And then right here, there's this little tab right here. You're going to pull that tab down, and the back of the camera will open up. Your film canister will be right here. There'll be the film will be rolled completely inside of it, safe, secure from the light. You lift this to take the film out, put a new roll of film in, push that down, that'll lock it into place, and then feed it into this roller right here. Okay, and I watched the video for how to feed film. It's all pretty much universal. Close it. Nothing left to do. Okay. Take your pictures. Have fun. Piece of cake. I'll show you how to read the light meter in the next video. Okay. But anyways, the Nicomat FT3, fantastic, classic camera. And this thing, if you're going to take portraits, this lens is magic. Super sharp, nice depth of field. So let's see what you come up with. Okay. Sandra, this is the inside of your camera, not completely because it's an awkward angle, but see the 1000 that you see right there. When I adjust the shutter speed, you can see the numbers. That's going to be your shutter speed. Okay, that's your shutter speed. It will not tell you what your aperture is because your aperture is going to be specifically set up for the light meter. Okay, but they all work together. All right, so when you need to know what shutter speed you're shooting at, you're going to look at that on the bottom of the view. Okay, now that thing right there, that little claw-looking guy, that is your light meter. Okay, now what happens is the needle that's above the negative sign right now, you want that needle to be inside of the box in between the negative and the plus. For perfect exposure, you want it in between the gap, the opening. Okay, so if it's inside the box, it's acceptable, but perfect exposure would be inside the gap, that center gap in between the plus and the negative. All right, so what you will do is you'll make a decision. Are you going to adjust shutter speed? I slowed the shutter speed down, okay, because the meter was saying it's underexposed, so right now it's too dark. If it's negative, it's too dark. So I can either lower the shutter speed or I can increase or adjust the aperture. Okay? So you have to decide which way you're going to adjust what you need to adjust. And the reason why you need to see your shutter speed is because you want to try not to shoot any slower than 1/60th of a second. Okay, the 60. If you see the 60, that's kind of your threshold of hand-holding photography. If you have to drop it all the way down to 30, then it's probably going to be a little bit too dark. So you're going to still want to shoot it at 1/60th, not at 1/30th. Okay, it's just too slow. All right, because if you can't adjust the aperture any further, then you have to adjust. Okay, so. Watch, I'm going to bring in a bright reflection of light, okay, and that's going to make this want to adjust, okay. If I take this away, you can see how it's adjusting. Okay, actually, hold on. See how it's adjusting itself? Because I'm bringing in a reflective surface, and so the light meter is adjusting what it's reading. Okay, so I have to then adjust. Okay, so I went to f16 here. It's too dark at f16, so I'm going to go down to f4. Too bright, so I have to close the aperture down to f16 or f11. Okay. If you're outside on a fairly sunny day, you're probably going to shoot at 1/500th of a second at f8. Okay, 1/500th of a second at f8. That's going to get you. That's going to be a good starting point for you outside during the sun. If it is inside your house and it's not super bright, then you're probably going to drop it to about 1/250th or 1/125th of a second at around f2 or f2.8 or f4, something like that. All right, have fun, make great photos. Okay, Vanessa, this is your camera, the Vivitar V2000. Fun little camera, easy to use, very reliable, small, lightweight, nice sharp lens. So, how do you use this thing? Number one, how do you turn it on? So this is the Film Advance button, or lever, rather. All you do is flip it like that, and the camera is on. Okay, simple. All right. To advance the film before you take a picture, you're just going to go like that. You'll hear it advance, and then this is the shutter button right here, this little black button. Boom. Piece of cake. When you get your camera, it will already have film in it, so don't waste frames by going, hey, I wonder what this does. Okay, you'll know what it does. Okay, to adjust the shutter speed, that's this dial right here. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're just going to adjust it as you need to. Obviously, the higher the number, the faster the shutter speed. Remember, these are fractions of a second. These are not full seconds or whatever. Okay, so it goes from 1/2000th of a second all the way down to 1 full second. The 2 is a half, the 4 is a quarter, and then 1/8, and the 15th, and the 30th, and the 60th of a second. Okay, you do not want to shoot slower than 1/60th of a second. Okay, so you'll notice that this has a red 125. Okay, that is kind of an indicator, a visual indicator of saying, hey, pay attention to where you are in your shutter speed. Okay, there is no shutter speed display when you look inside of the camera when you're shooting. All right. Okay, to adjust the aperture on the lens, okay, to open or close the aperture and the f-stop, that's this right here. Okay, that's this ring right here, the one that's closer, the skinnier one that's clicking. Okay, so again, you'll see at the top of the lens, it goes from f2, okay, all the way to f16. Okay, f16. All right, so and anything in between. All right, and if it's clicking, then you're not focusing. To focus, you're going to use this one. Okay, so if you're looking through here and you're focusing, then if it looks sharp, it is sharp. Okay, you don't have to worry about all these numbers. Don't worry about it. If it looks sharp, it is sharp. Okay, adjust the aperture as you see fit. Okay, and then adjust the shutter speed here as you need to. Okay, I'm going to show you what the inside of the camera looks like so you can understand what the light meter is doing and how all of that is going to work out. All right, so again, advance the film, take a picture. Okay, and you'll hear it obviously click and you'll feel it kind of mechanically work. All right, what do you do when you're done? Okay, so you've gotten to the end of the roll and you're going like this and it's not advancing, nor can you take a picture. And you look at the counter. The counter is right there, those little numbers right there, and you'll see that you're around 22, 23, 24, something like that. Okay, turn the camera upside down. You're going to push this button right here. Okay, that button. Push that button. This is the film crank. Open it up. You'll see that it has arrows telling it to go this way. You'll crank it. Crank, 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 crank. Lift it up. Once you feel it release inside the canister, okay, lift it up, and all you do is give this thing a little bit of a tug, and it will open up. Your film canister will be here. All the film will be rolled inside of it. Just take it out, super easy. Put the next one in if you're going to shoot another roll, which I hope you do. Put it in here, close it, and then look at the video I did for for how to load film and all that stuff. It's all in there. Okay, all the cameras are pretty much the same. It's pretty universal. Okay, so there you go. Any questions? Let me know. Otherwise, have fun. The next video for you, I'm going to, or next part of the video will be the inside of your camera. All right? Okay, Vanessa, this is the inside of your camera. On the right-hand side, I'm sorry, on the left-hand side, when you look through the viewfinder, you will see, when you press the shutter button halfway down, you will see either a green light or you will see a negative or you will see a positive. Okay, sometimes you'll see a combination of a positive and the green light. That sometimes happens. Okay, and you see that little center glow? That means it's real close to being perfectly exposed. Okay, all right. So what you need to make sure you do is when you're shooting and taking photos, when you press the shutter button halfway down, you don't see a plus, you don't see a negative, you see a green light, or it's real close to being green. Like it's kind of a click there or a click. If you're a click off, that's okay, but you want to see that green light. Okay, that green light means that whatever it's looking at is in perfect exposure. All right, now how does the light meter work? The light meter works by basically reading and seeing how much sun or brightness is coming into the lens. Okay, so I'm going to add brightness to it and watch what happens. Okay, so right now it thinks it's pretty close, but if I bring this bright paper closer, it's going to say that it's overexposed. So the plus means that there's too much light coming in. If I take this away, then it's like, oh no, it's good. Oh, now it's negative. Oh no, it's good. So as I move this paper around, it's reading what it's seeing, and it's saying, okay, there's not enough light. That's good. Nope, that's too much light. Not enough light. Okay, so the negative means not enough light. You need to somehow bring more light into the film. So that's either adjusting the aperture and opening it up and going to a lower number on the lens, like from f4 to f2.8 or f2, or slowing the shutter speed down if you need to add more light. But again, do not go lower than 1/60th of a second. Okay? Questions? Let me know. Otherwise, have fun, take awesome photos. Okay, Julissa, this is your camera, the Centon. Awesome little camera, super easy to use. You don't have to think much, you just have to see what you're shooting at, make sure it's focused, and you'll be good to go. All right? Number one, how do you turn the camera on? Well, right here at the top, right here, is a on-off switch. Right now it's off, now it's on. See that little green thing right there? Green is on, it says on, the camera's on. Okay? Will it still work? Yes, it'll still work if you don't turn it on, but the light meter won't work if you don't have the camera turned on. Okay? So, make sure the camera's on, all right? And try not to leave it on, all right? Number two, how do you take a picture? If you push the button right here and nothing happens, then that means you need to advance the film forward. You have to wind the film. So, that's this little thing right here, super easy, okay? Go like that. You're ready to go, take a picture. Go like that again, take a picture. So every time you need to take a picture, you need to wind the film. Okay, simple. How do you focus? You focus with this front ring right here. Okay, so when you're looking through the back of this camera, okay, when you're looking through the back, you're looking in through here. Okay, you focus with your left hand, and if it looks like it's in focus, then guess what? It's in focus. Okay, so what do you need to control? The one thing that you do need to pay attention to is how fast the camera is shooting. Okay? When you're looking in here on the, I think it's the right hand side, it might be the left, but I'll show it to you in the next video. When you're looking in here, you will see a scale on the side, and there'll be little electronic red lights, okay, next to the numbers. You just want to make sure that the number that you're shooting faster than 1/60th of a second. And we'll talk about all this in class already. You'll be familiar with it, but just remember the magic number is 60. If it's lower than 60, then it's going to be really hard to keep it in focus because it's not going to, because your hands actually are moving when you're taking a picture, right? You're not like this, but you're not perfectly still like you were resting it on a tripod or a shelf or something like that. All right, so I will show you that in the next video. Okay, what else do you need to know? Once you're done taking pictures and the film roll is at the end, you've used all the frames in the film, you used all the film, okay, you'll no longer be able to advance it. Okay, you can't take a picture and you can't advance it. And if you look right here, okay, right there, that is the film counter. If it's at about 22 or 23 or 24, maybe 25, then you know that you're at the end of the roll. What do you do next? Really simple, okay? First of all, you turn it upside down, and this button right here, you push that button. Boom, okay, just push that button. Number 2, you take this little crank thing right here that's in the dial right here, this, and you'll see that it has a little white arrow. It tells you which way to turn it. You turn it and you're rewinding the film back into the canister. And you'll feel tension. It'll make a little noise like that. And then all of a sudden the tension will go away. And that will mean that all of the film has been put back into the canister. Okay? So all of a sudden it'll be really easy to turn. What do you do next? Lift this up, give it a little pull, and the back will pop open, and your film will be right here. Take the canister out, put the new canister in, and you feed it into this white dowel right here, and you watch the video that I did for that. Okay? But I mean, that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. This camera I put it on auto mode for you, so that all you got to do is make sure it's focused and make sure that you're shooting, make sure that the aperture is right around. There's only a couple little options you have here, okay? Otherwise, this is a super fun camera to use. I've used it a couple of times, a couple of rolls of film. I loved it. It worked really well. I had no issues, so it's good to go. Okay? Any questions, let me know. All right? Otherwise, have fun. Enjoy making photos, and let's see what you come up with. Okay. So I'm filming through the camera now, and on the right-hand side, you see those numbers, that scale of numbers from 1 all the way to 500 or 1,000. Just kidding. Okay, you see that red light where it's at 1/30th of a second? Okay, that's telling you that that's how fast it's going to shoot. You don't want to shoot at 1/30th. You want to shoot at least at 1/60th because 1/30th is too slow. So let's make sure that we're at 1/60th. How can we make that adjustment? Really simple. What we can do is, let me increase the brightness. Okay, so what we can do is, there's a couple of things. The only thing you need to do is, see, I brought in a big piece of white paper, okay, and when I do that, the camera thinks it's much brighter outside. Okay, so you can see how it jumped from what it was before. Now it's at like 250, 500. If I take the light away, the brightness away, it goes down. Okay, all right. So here's the deal. If it's too bright, okay, or if it's at, let's say it's at 1/60th, and you want to go a little bit faster, what you do, you're going to want to open the lens up a little bit. So I went from, right now it's set, the lens is set at f4, the aperture is f4. If I open the lens up and allow more light, then you can see from like f4 to f1.7, you can see the shutter speed went faster. If I close the lens a little bit from f4 to f5.6, f8, you can see how the shutter speed needs to be slower because there's not enough light coming in through the lens. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you are shooting at 1/60th or faster. Any of these higher numbers will be perfect for you. Okay, and then just make sure you focus, and if, like I said, when you look in there, if it's focused, you're good. Okay, if it looks like it's focused, it's focused. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have fun. Let me know if you have any questions. Orlando, this is yours. You've got the Nikon EM, best initials ever. Anyways, super fun camera to use, very easy to use. You'll have a blast. You just need to make sure that the aperture is correct, and the aperture is right here on the lens. Okay, to turn the camera on, all you do is do that, and the camera is on. Okay, off, on, off, on. Okay, to take a picture, wind the film, fire, wind the film, fire, wind the film, fire. Okay, that's pretty much it. And then obviously make sure that you focus. Okay, so when you are looking through the back of the camera, you're looking through here, you're going to want to make sure you focus. So if it looks sharp through here, then it is sharp. Okay, besides that, once you're finished with the roll of film, so when you get to the end of the roll, you won't be able to advance it anymore, and you won't be able to take a picture. What you do is you turn it over, you push this button right here, okay, push that down, that's the release, You come over here, you flip this little winder up. The arrow will tell you which way to go. You wind the film back into the canister and you'll hear a ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch, and then all of a sudden it'll release and it'll be easier. Once it's easier, then you know the film is in there. Lift this up and then give it a little pull. And that'll pop open the back. And that's the back of your camera. You'll have your film right here. Just take it out, put a new roll in, and then you load it into there, and you can watch the video on how to roll film and put film in and all that stuff. You can watch that video. Otherwise, that's it. Make sure you turn it off when you're done, just so that you don't drain the battery. The battery, there's a battery inside of here, underneath this plate. Okay? Otherwise, I think that's it. It's pretty basic, pretty fun. Have a great time. Take good photos. I will show you what the light meter looks like in the next part of the video. Okay, so this is the inside of your camera. Okay, that little needle right there, the little black needle rather, is the light meter, and it's telling you right now the way that it is set up, it's going to shoot at 1/125th of a second, 1/25th of a second. Okay. You want to make sure that when you're taking photos that meter is reading from 60 or higher, so all the black numbers. Anything in the red numbers means it's going to be really hard to have a steady photo because you're actually moving when you take a photo. Okay, so make sure that it's in those black numbers. Now, if I take the bright reflector away, okay, then you'll see that it goes down. See how it went down a little bit? And I'm bringing that reflector back in, and it's kind of moving around. And if I bring it closer and make it brighter, then you can see how I'm bringing light into the frame, how it's adjusting and it's going away. Okay? And so you want to make sure that you're shooting that meter is there. Now, how can you adjust how high that meter goes? Really simple. Okay? You're doing it with the aperture of the lens. So right now it's on f1.8, which is allowing the most amount of light into the scene, into the lens. If I close the aperture a little bit, you see how the shutter speed is also slowing down. The shutter speed is slowing down because less light is entering the lens, and therefore the shutter needs to be open longer to make sure it gets proper exposure. Okay? So right now I'm at f8. Hold on. Turn it back on. You push the shutter halfway down to activate the light meter for a few seconds. Okay, press the shutter halfway down. Don't take a photo, but press it halfway down, and that'll activate the light meter for a few seconds. Okay, right now it's at f8. If I open up the lens, then it'll shoot faster at 1/60th. I open it up more to f4, it's at 1/25th. f2.8, it's at 250. f1.8, it's at 500. Okay, so that's how that is balanced. All right, and we would have already talked about this in class. Otherwise, make sure it's focused, what you're looking at. Make sure that needle is pointing in the black numbers, and you'll be perfect. Talk to you soon. Okay, Gabby, this is the Review Flex. Great little Japanese camera, really fun to use. It has an auto mode. Okay, so in auto mode, all you have to do is make sure that the light meter is correct as far as the aperture, and then you'll be okay, and then focus and take a photo. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. Real simple. Number one, make sure you turn it on. So how do you turn it on? You turn it on like that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, make sure it's focused. How do you focus? You focus like this. Okay. Number three, if you need to make an adjustment, then you make the adjustment on the aperture. Okay, right here, and I'll show you what the light meter does inside the camera when you're looking through it. Okay, so when you're looking through the camera, I'll show you in the next part of the video, I'll show you what it looks like. All right. Otherwise, when you're done taking photos, okay, to take a photo, obviously you push this button right here. So when you're done taking photos, okay, when you can't rewind it any further, all right, so what you're going to do is you're not going to be able to wind it anymore. You're going to turn it upside down, and you're going to push this button right here. Okay, push that button. Then you're going to open this crank up like that, and you'll see that it has a little arrow of which way to go. Actually, this one doesn't, just kidding. Oh yeah, it does right there. Okay, and you're going to turn it.
and you're going to feel and hear the film winding inside the canister that's right here. Okay, so it's going to make a noise. You'll feel it release. Okay, and all of a sudden it'll become easy to turn. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to lift this up and then give it a little pull. And it'll pop open the back. Your film will be right here in the canister. Okay, take the film out, put the new one in, load it into this slot right here. Okay, give it a crank. Close it, turn that down just like that. Give it another couple of shots just to load the film into the right position. You'll look for the number 1, which is right there, okay, in the film counter. And otherwise, that's about it. That's about it, okay? It's pretty basic. I will show you what it looks like next inside the thing, but otherwise, that's it. This is a fun camera to use. Very easy. You'll make some great photos. Have fun. Okay, Gabby, so this is the inside of your camera. On the right hand side you'll see that scale, the 1000, 500, 250, 125, 60. That is a shutter speed that your camera will shoot at. When you push your shutter button halfway down, it'll activate the light meter. Okay? So right now it's set at 1/60th of a second. If it's shooting at 1/60th of a second, you're good to go. Now, if you activate the light meter and it's down to like 30th of a second, then you want to open up the aperture on the lens as far as it'll go to get that to 1/60th. And you see how it's kind of darkening also? Okay, so it's kind of helping you to see what it looks like. Okay, so 1/60th of a second or faster is what you want to do. Now, if it's up higher, and I'll make it brighter in here, see how it jumped up real fast? Okay, and if I do that, it goes way down. Okay. So as I bring the paper in and out, the bright paper, you can see how it's kind of jumping around and how it's really, really low, okay? And so the light meter is very sensitive, okay? And depending on kind of how much brightness is going on in the scene, it will adjust itself, okay? So just make sure when you're shooting that meter, that little black meter, needle right there is at 1/60th or higher. So if it shoots at 1,000th of a second, fantastic. Okay, you can obviously adjust. Stay good. You can adjust the aperture if you need to lower the shutter speed in case you want to shoot something that you need to have more depth of field. Okay, but otherwise you can keep it where keep it pretty much open at 2.8 or 1.8, something like that. And as long as it's 1/60th or faster, you're good to go. Okay, have fun, take great photos.
See, log into his Google account.
Right, zoom it up or move it up. Right there. I guess. Good enough. This lighting is f***ing terrible.
Where's your light?
I don't know. It's in the room over there. It's okay. This is funny. That microphone is on.
Yeah, it's on. And also the square's
Like,
in the wrong
go.
spot.
What do you mean?
The focus square. It's trying to focus to the top or left.
So move it
With with the bottom arrow. Okay.
with the thumb.
I see.
Yeah. Or just touch. I think you just touch the screen.
Yep. That's actually. Oh, this is sweet. All right.
Good.
Yep.